What's going on, guys? Today, I want to talk about a simple little thing that I've been thinking about. Not even simple. Let me not say simple. It's very complex, but I'm an idiot. So I use the wrong words a lot. And I have nothing to do with anything scientific in the slightest. But I want to talk about the concept of emergence, right? And I think this is going to be a very important thing in the next 100 to 200 years in science, right? Mostly because it's become clear that we don't live in a very static world. Everything in our world is very dynamic and fluid. It's always changing and moving. One of the main things that I take into principles in business or in a lot of things I look at the world is uncertainty. Uncertainty and dynamics, where it's very hard. It's much better to have a fluid and dynamic system than a rigid, stiff system, right? Pause. And I'm just, excuse my childness, right? Childishness. There it is. Okay. Anyways, and the way that I look at science and the way we look at solutions, it seems that we're very good at designing very rigid systems. And the problem I see with rigid systems are they're actually really good, right? They actually work really well. And you can say that they're stable and they produce really good outcomes because this is just the way the human brain thinks. We think of an idea, we think of how we put the idea together, and then we get the thing, right? And it's created beautiful growths in everything that we see in our lives, whether it be the computer chips that go into these phones and the lithography that designs the computer chips and NVIDIA chips to AI to LLMs to everything that we use, coding, computers, everything is very static, 0 to 1 deterministic. And the concept of emergence almost spits in the face of that. And it's very almost probabilistic in a sense and more, I guess you can say, the way that the universe itself creates, where it just starts off with very simple unit cells, and you get those cells to interact with each other using local rules, the rules that you set for the game. And through those rules, these very simple unit cells create very complex patterns. And for example, the cells in my body have no idea that they make up uncut stone, right? They have no idea that they make me up, that I walk around, that I do these things. All it knows is, hey, my friend over here just showed up with some pretty cool glycogen. I'm going to consume this glycogen, bro. It's pretty sick. And then he just goes on with his day. It's like, oh shit, more glycogen, right? And he keeps doing that. And that controls my muscles, right? Like I'm not a full biologist or anything like that. I'm not a biologist at all, not even close to full. But the cells don't know. They're not conscious, right? But maybe consciousness is emergent, right? Where even the neurons in my brain have no idea that I'm conscious. But consciousness seems to be emergent. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it's my idea. That it seems emergent, right? That when you put everything together, you get this emergence, right? And I think that actually spreads to other things, right? So this is where it gets a little bit into my thesis of the world, where emergence is far more actually stable than the opposite of emergence, where it's designed top down. And you can see this when it comes to economic systems, right? Where when you have systems that actually are more free, they actually grow faster. They actually grow better. They're actually more stable. And I wouldn't say grow faster. Let me not say grow faster, but they are far more stable and the outcomes are actually better than you would think. But it's hard to sell an outcome that you can't predict. And that's the thing about emergence is we haven't found out a way to really predict that it leads to something unless we do it first, right? And so like look at free trade, right? This is an example I like to explain to my friends whenever I yap about this stuff is, I go to the store, I'm a unit cell. The person who works at the store is a unit cell, right? Let's just say it's a small business, all right? It's a Chinese food restaurant around the corner. I have $12. He has a 6-piece wings, shrimp fried rice, no veggie, right? I give him $12. He gives me my order, right? That is one simple interaction. There's millions of those interactions every single day. with people's freedom to choose whatever they want to buy, when they want to buy it, and these type of things, in a perfect world, right? Then this creates free trade and capitalism, right? And you don't have to use capitalism. You can use whatever you want. But let's just call it free trade, right? You get to buy whatever you want. You go do these things. The simple unit rule is if he gives you something you want, you trade for something you have. And that's the simple trade, right? And out of this comes a growing economy where people are like, hey, I can go sell stuff and I can get stuff and then I can get that money and I can go trade that for other stuff, right? So you end up just getting this economy whereas if you design from the top down, where somebody tells you exactly how much food you should buy, how much money you should spend on the house, how much money you should spend on clothes and all these other things, and it's perfectly planned, that system is very rigid and it might actually work pretty well, right? It might keep people happy. But the problem is it's extremely rigid. And the moment an exterior force comes in, it takes almost an act of God to put the system back together, right? And this is the problem with, a lot of more control heavy forms of economics, right? Whether it be socialism, communism, whatever, right? This has been tested, I believe, in history. We've seen it, right? And capitalism isn't bulletproof either. And neither one of them are fucking perfect. It's just what works. And then when you look at, and then neither one of them have truly been, executed on. Anyways, then when you look at like materials, right? Where you look at graphene, for example. Graphene has been this wonderful material that's been 20 years away for 20 years. And it's been having trouble scaling, where it's going to be a material breakthrough that would allow so many crazy new things to exist, whether it be battery technology, whether it be computer chip technology, whether it be like materials, right? Where we can build longer, taller bridges, maybe even a space elevator one day or a lost from loop. We can build crazy things like that, right? But the problem with it is it's like impossible to scale past a ton, right? Like you can't make more than a pound of it at a time, and it's powdered and all this stuff. It's hyper complex. But I heard Rice University has some crazy things going on with it, but anyways, it's very hard to scale because it's rigid. It's a literal flat plane of carbon, and then you'd have to stack this carbon on top of each other, trillions of times, because a million of it is like 15 millimeters, right? Like it's nothing, right? It's the width of 15 millimeters is a 15th of a millimeter, I believe, or a sixth. It's about the strand of your hair. Like it's a million atoms of it thick, right? And imagine how complicated that is to get it to be, the thickness of even like a simple cord, right? Like it's gonna be hard. And I believe that we designed that from the top down to be perfect, to be strong, exactly what we needed. But the same problems we have with that is the same problems we have with carbon fiber, where it's a perfectly designed material for what we need it for, but it breaks in ways that are really, really hard to work with. Versus things that are more organic, or just like organic / an alloy, basically like steel, or steel is an alloy, but like iron or aluminum, or bauxite or whatever. And these materials are much easier to work with, right, than a carbon fiber or a graphene. And it's because they're stable, inherently stable. So you can bend them, you can do whatever you need with them. And of course, it's whatever the use case is. Maybe there's a better use case for carbon fiber that we have yet to find yet that would make its rigidness and its perfectionness much better for more applications. But the current application of using it in bikes and cars and stuff like that, it's pretty good. But it's like if we could make aluminum lighter, it'd probably just end up being aluminum. But yeah, that's my idea on emergence, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, appreciate you guys watching. Bye.